Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from RealityArtPod here to give my Week 6 player rankings of Big Brother 26. These are my rankings as of where things stand at the end of Thursday night's episode. If you haven't watched it yet, spoiler warning, I will be talking about the 6th evicted house guest. Before I dive in, I put a link in the description so you can watch my previous recaps and rankings. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing. Your support means a lot to me. But let's dive into it, starting with our 6th evicted house guest, Tucker, who started off 14th in my preseason rankings and worked his way up to being 5th for me last week. His HOH helped him to form the 6th Avenue Alliance, his final two with Joseph, and he had Mackenzie and Leah stalking his HOH room. It seems like everyone was sipping on his Kool-Aid, but he got overconfident, volunteering to go on the block yet again on T-Core's HOH. This time he seemed to regret it, or somehow felt like T-Core should have read his mind and not nominated him. There was some entitlement where he felt like if he put himself in danger, everyone should listen to him. Being on the block doesn't make you HOH. Somewhere in him was a great player, but as I said in my recap for this week, I feel like he just wanted to make good TV and then go home to his dog. In 10th, I have Joseph, who last week was 6th, someone who really dropped a lot last week, and this week it's just continuing. He was all in on his final two with Tucker, and has been talking himself up, calling himself the star of the show and comparing himself to Dan. It seems like he tries to mold his game after Dan. He's throwing comps. I'm not even sure he could win anyway, but unlike Dan, he's advertising that he's doing it and telling Quinn, someone who cannot be trusted, that he's a super fan and that he's been throwing comps. Just like Dan in BB14, he goes into solitary confinement. The difference is Dan spent his time in solitary planning his strategy and his funeral, and Joseph spent his time in his tent flicking his bean. He comes out of solitary and finds out that Angela has blown her own game up. Not really too much of a problem for him, but he doesn't do anything to clean things up in a way that benefits him. The game just gets played around him all week, with a house flip getting organized. He cried during Angela's speech. I don't think because of Angela's words, but I think he got wind that Tucker was going and that his game was about to be in ruins. He ends up on the wrong side of the votes, and now he's loosely associated with Chemo, Rubina, and T-Core, making him the most appealing target coming into this week. While I think he's in a really bad spot right now, I think he still has potential. He has friendships with Quinn and Leah that could help him, but he would really need to humble himself and do something to save his game because right now it's in the crapper. If he ends up on the block this week, he's just gonna have to do what he does best and get himself off. In 9th, I have Chemo, who last week was 3rd, and I feel like Chemo is seen as T-Core's sidekick, at least by me, and this week I didn't see him do much, though he did give us that club banger, singing in the BB house. It's been stuck in my head all week. Chemo hasn't done anything to actively progress his own game this week, and is easily someone that Cam and Chelsea can come for. I think they'd rather have Chemo or Joseph out over T-Core or Rubina. Chemo has just spent way too much time with T-Core slurping noodles into his microphone when he should be mingling around the house and working on his relationships. Even if he gets to the end of the game, I don't think he has it in him to cut T-Core, and if he does cut her, I think it would make him look really bad for this jury, so I can't see a winning scenario for him at this point. In 8th, I have Angela, who last week was 4th. Last week, Angela was in a great place in the game. All she had to do was lay low and continue to keep a low profile. Her ally T-Core wins HOH, and she and Tucker should both have been safe this week. She was having a decent week, doing her punishment and appealing to the other house guests' emotions. She loses the plot when she turns on Tucker right before the veto meeting. She could have just waited until after, especially because what she wanted to do is what ended up happening. Everyone she approached asking to vote Tucker out actually voted Tucker out. She's not bulletproof. She could definitely go home this week. There's just no incentive to vote her out. As we saw with her sitting on the block tonight against Tucker, there's always going to be a bigger threat to get out. I still think she can get far and still has a chance to win the game. In 7th, I have Mackenzie, who last week was 11th. Last week, she managed to avoid being on the block and fumbled her middle position by just being completely unaware to what's happening in the house. She still has no clue what's going on for the most part. 9 out of 10 of her speculations are completely off, but in all of her speculating, she does cause some chaos in the house that benefits her a little. She's been fighting for over a month now to chip away at the house and figure this out for herself. She's probably the hardest working player in the house, though like I said, often unsuccessful. She tries. Just like with the Cedric vote, she's approached with a genuine offer to be a part of something real, and she says a quick yes. She's down as hell. Then she absolutely kicks Tucker's ass in the AI arena this week, which was a crucial part of the plan. She annihilated him. With that said, while she was in the majority in this vote, she's voted right in the past and was in a place to stay in the middle and get herself into a good spot, and she wasn't really able to. She should take this opportunity to make an actual alliance with Cam, Leah, and Chelsea, and exclude Quinn because he can't be trusted and is loyal to T-Core and Chemo. Getting Tucker out is great for Mackenzie's game because she's fighting for her life week over week, and now she has more opportunities to win vetoes, arenas, and even an HOH, which could be clutch. I have more hope for her than ever. In 6th, I have Cam, who was 10th last week. I've been giving him crap about doing nothing, but this week he kind of rose to meme status for being so professional about doing nothing, and being nominated actually seems to light a fire under him to get him active in the game. He started the game in a pretty good position within the core of the House Alliance. I had him highly rated, but then his alliance and his showmance fell apart, and I guess we can say he kept his composure. While I gave him a hard time for doing nothing, I had Mimi as number 1 for a lot of last season because I feel like keeping a low profile can really help in the game. But unlike Mimi, who was in a good place, laid low, and never did anything, Cam is actually starting to do something. So I think he can rise up the ranks, but I have him here for now because he's still a likely target for T-Core in the gang, especially as the now obvious physical threat in Tucker has left the game, but tons of room for improvement. In 5th, I have Leah, who was 9th last last week, she came into this week not really well aligned, but for the most part, a bystander in the game. Her escaping the block is a miracle to me, as she doesn't really have a game relationship with T-Core, and when T-Core asked her for potential targets, she kind of played dead, which ended up being, I guess, good for her. But T-Core wanted to protect her, especially with motivation from Quinn. She's made it this far being pretty under the radar and not doing much, and even though she was part of this vote flip, she wasn't an organizer of it and can maintain her middle position still. She has strong relationships with everyone to the point that she can probably escape being on the block this week either way. And while I struggle to see her winning the game, the fact that I had her ranked 17th on a 16-person cast behind the mystery player and she's still in there doing pretty well is really impressive. Her best next move would be to continue talking game now that she kind of knows what's going on, keep doing what she's been doing and crawl up the HOH's butt, and maybe try to get Chemo, Rubina, and T-Core to have hope for a Girls and Chemo alliance. In 4th, I have Quinn, who was 8th. It's been a roller coaster for Quinn. I feel like the fact that he survived the first few weeks of chaos that he was causing is a testament to some level of strategic game. The players all love him. Even his nemesis Tucker saved him from the block, which is crazy to me. As the numbers dwindle, he continues to have one-on-one relationships with everyone in the house. Nobody can trust him and they know that, but they still put up with him. I think that they appreciate that he's the devil that they know. He successfully basically tricked Tucker into saving him, even though he wasn't going home either way, only to be able to turn on Tucker and be part of his demise in what is a really satisfying story for Quinn that ties a bow on the pre-jury saga between he and Tucker. He's in a really similar spot as Leah, playing the middle with Leah by his side. T-Core and Chemo should be concerned that he turned on them and voted out Tucker, but they'll likely just brush it under the rug like they do with everything else Quinn does. His best move would be to keep a low profile and let people fight, but that's unlike him. In 3rd, I have Rubina, who was 2nd last week. She was and still is one of the most liked people in the house, but the showmance with Tucker is really exactly what she was trying to avoid in the house. It seems like she just didn't have her head in the game, and now that he's gone, her head can get back in the game and she can go back to being Rubina. I'm not sure how good she is at the game, but she's one of the people I could see getting far and potentially clearing a jury vote because they all love her. In 2nd, I have T-Core, who was 1st last week. T-Core had just evicted Brooklyn, who was a big obstacle for her, and she found herself in the majority alliance in 6th Avenue. She wins the HOH by accident. This is one she really shouldn't have won. I think she would have been in a great place without it, but it was fine. Chemo and Rubina's reaction to her winning is more proof that they'll stay loyal to her and happily hand her this money. She nominates MJ, Tucker, and Cam. Fine nominations. Leah should have been nominated, but Tucker did volunteer, and that's what you get. Cam wins the veto, and Angela did cause a ton of chaos in the house, leading to T-Core nominating Angela instead of Leah. I saw a lot of criticism online for her having Tucker and Angela on the block at the end of the week, but Tucker volunteered, so I would have nominated him too. And had she nominated Leah, Mackenzie would have still won the arena, and the flip still happens, so she would have nominated Leah for no reason. I think she left off having a somewhat clean HOH, having protected a lot of people and people who have influence over the people she nominated. So while I think she could end up on the block depending on who wins HOH, I think she likely stays over her allies and will be just fine. I've said for a while that T-Core needs to get Rubina away from Tucker, and Tucker leaving is great for her game because through that she loses a huge obstacle, locks down Rubina's loyalty to the end, and also focuses Chemo a little bit more. In 1st, I have Chelsea, who last week was 7th, the first player to be 1st twice since the season began. She's been scratching her way back into the game after a fall from grace that wasn't really her fault, but that's life. Sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. After being on the block and saving herself in the arena, T-Core wins HOH, and Chelsea greatly benefits from T-Core having a soft spot for her. I do believe that Chelsea has mutual loyalty for T-Core that will serve them both well, but she waits until after the veto is used and pulls together the votes to evict Tucker in a way that was preparation meeting opportunity. She's by far the best strategist in the house and is finally back in a place where she can form a power structure that benefits her. For now, she's back in the game, just made a successful move, and still has Cam as her loyal soldier and shield. So for that, she's number 1 for me. So those are my week 6 rankings. Let me know in the comments what you think. Also, what are your rankings? I love to read them and respond. If you like the videos, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back next week with Challenge 40 and more Big Brother 26. Until next time, have a nice weekend. Bye.